okay, you know what? For this business, we're not going to set up a team like we used to do in the past. We're going to set up a different team, but we'll give you full empowerment to make a certain number of decisions.
Okay, so in terms of structure, what changed was you decomposed into smaller teams and delegated a lot of authority to take decisions to the teams. Every team has a leader, a team lead, but there's no really a functional hierarchy in the team nor between the teams. How about performance management? How did that change?
So performance management, so there's two aspects to performance management in our systems. There's one which I think it's inherited from the past and has changed, but we did not touch it initially. And that's I give you a rating at the end of the year and you are...
Yearly evaluation process.
Exactly. So that is something that we did not touch at the beginning, but that we've changed now. So this does not exist in the company, but that's throughout the company. So Fujitsu has stopped performance evaluation, and that's I think was long overdue. It's not because I'm supposed to be your manager that I have to tell you, you did a bad job this year. So that I think is a thing of the past, and that thing has disappeared. But then there's another process which people tend to value quite a bit, which is how much money will you get at the end of the year, and that one. What we did is that, first of all, every person has a fixed, in the micro enterprises, which is the name of this new structure, every person has a fixed and a variable salary. The proportion can change because if you're in sales, you used to have maybe 30 or 40% of your salary that's variable. If you're in delivery, it's only 10 or 15%. But everybody has a fixed part and a variable part. And for the variable part, what we decide is that everybody in the micro enterprise has the same objective. So everybody fails together or everybody succeeds together. We'll not say you succeeded, you failed, etc., because that would break the team spirit. So the idea was to say, you know what, you will fail together or succeed together, but you're together in this. And that had a huge implications because I think that was really part of the team spirit that we managed to create.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that when people have the same, I mean, you could expect the opposite behavior, like if a person is not performing and all the others are performing, they will actually say, hey, you're actually bringing the team down, but we did not see that happen.
No. Yeah, that's also my observations across different organizations. And also from a psychological perspective, the world in itself is a very complex place with a lot of opportunities for teams to attack. And so goal setting is also a way to reduce that complexity and to say, okay, out of all these opportunities and impulses, we are going to focus our attention on that goal. And so imagine that you have 10 people and they all have different goals or individual goals. You just do not decrease the complexity to interact with the world, and which is something you do. And so from a psychological standpoint, it makes things much easier. Because everybody is focused on the same thing, which it speaks for itself, but often it's not the case in corporate organizations. What about budgeting? Is that a process that you redesigned, reinvented, changed?
So not enough initially, and we're trying to make up for that. Initially, the objective setting was top down. And we did not change that initially. Now we're trying to change this. It's very difficult because of the corporate governance that we have in our company, which is still a multinational, although we're trying these new business models. But so initially, I mean, budgeting was made in a top-down way, which is, okay, cloud, you know what, you're doing 100 this year, the market is growing at 30%, you have to grow faster than the market, you have to make 140. End of story. Very top-down. We're trying to change that. So we're trying to involve the people in the decision making, but it's very difficult because of the constraint that we have from the corporation. So the way we're doing it is more, you're 100 now, assume that you would need to be at 140 next year. What would you need to get there? What's missing today? So that's the approach that we're taking, because we could not go to the full, you make your
beyond budgeting, shorter cycles, things like that. So an additional question then, Bruno, because this is a context which 100% of your peers in other corporate organizations experience as well. They have a scope of control that they can change, and which they do. And then there's the global context of the corporate organization. And I'm very curious. I see some of your peers getting really demotivated by that. Like, this is something we cannot change, and I see it impacting the change I want to make. And I see other peers that are more in an acceptance, like, hey, we can't change everything at the same time. Let's just focus on what we can do, and in the meantime, continue pushing for changes at other levels of the organization. In which group are you, and what would your advice be to other peers?
So I tend to be in the, I mean, one of my sayings, my favorite saying is that a problem you cannot fix is a data point. I use that all the time, and which means that if there's something that you know you cannot fix, you can say it's a problem, I hate it, you cannot change it, it's a data point. You have to make up with it because it's there and it's not going to change. So that's, I would say, it's probably 80% of my attitude. And the 20% that are remaining is that in terms of background, I'm a salesperson. That's where I did most of my career. And there's also a way to sell. So sometimes it's selling internally. So there are things that the corporation is not ready to make, but then you have to understand why they're not ready to make these changes, who can influence, and just do your power map and decide, okay, if I need to influence this person who owns this decision, who can I talk to in the organization that will be able to influence them? So you can do a bit of that. So it takes quite a bit of effort, but you can change some things even when you think that they cannot.